That's accelerating, changing. Hi, I'm Darren, an untrained amateur who's determined to save one of the last of his classic cars. This is Roy, a 45-year-old 2.8 litre Vauxhall Royale coupe. When I owned one 30 years ago, they were rare. Now they're unknown. This is one of the last of its kind, and I'm going to rescue it and relive my youth. Follow the rebuild, watch this legend come back to life. Right, morning everyone. What we're going to do today is drop the fuel tank. On the test drives last weekend, we found that we can go about 5 or 6 miles before the fuel system completely blocks up with Gunge. So we can't do anything until we've got that sorted out. So we've got a couple of little jobs to do. First of all, drop the tank, see what it's like. Back at home, I've got a bucket of citric acid powder, so we can make up enough citric acid to put inside the tank and fill the tank completely, and then we can just leave it for a day or so. And apparently that is supposed to clean all the rust off the inside. I've then got a secondary plan if it doesn't quite clean it up perfectly, and that is electrolysis. There's what you can do is fill it up with a solution of washing soda, so that's an alkali. Then you get a bench power supply, which I've got, put about 12, 24 volts at it, something like that, limit the current to about a couple of amps, and you make the casing of the tank negative, and then you dangle in the solution without shorting out to the sides of the tank. You dangle in the solution a bit of sacrificial steel. So it could be a bit of steel plate, could be a bit of threaded bar, could be some nuts, something like that, threaded onto the end of a bit of bare wire. Anything like that, anything that will attract the rust. And then you connect that to positive, and then you leave it for a couple of days. And again, what it then does is, by electrolysis, it will detach the rust molecules from the tank and bond them onto the sacrificial steel. So you end up with a set of rusty bolts or whatever, but a clean tank. So that should sort us out for that. And then the other thing I've got new jets for the carburettor based on the testing that we did last week that said actually the jets on this Weber carburettor are too small, which is completely a different result to the one I was expecting. I thought they were going to be too big. But by how far I had to get the mixture screws out to get the right idle, it said they were too small, so I've got the next size up. We can change that, and I've also got a new thermostat housing, which is not an original part. You can't get the original parts, but there is one company in Germany that make them for Opel Mantas. Now that's a 4-cylinder version of this engine, but it looks exactly the same, and I'm hoping it's going to fit. So if it fits, brilliant, because it's a brand new part and it's all machined and lovely. If it doesn't fit, then I'm going to be selling one on eBay, so we'll see. So yeah, just a couple of little jobs, but as I say, the main job, let's get this tank out and get it cleaned, because we cannot test drive and we cannot run in the piston rings like we are. We need to be able to do a long journey, and at the moment, twice now we've ended up on the side of the road with blocked fuel. The other thing I'm going to do when it goes back is I'm going to move the fuel pump. At the moment, I've got the fuel pump in the engine bay, so it's sucking from the tank. I'm going to put it next to the tank, which is the traditional place an electric fuel pump would be, so that it's only sucking a very small amount but pushing the rest, and I think it might actually be happier that way. So yeah, the car's stone cold at the moment. I just need to roll it back a little bit, but I'm going to try and start it and just see. Am I going to try and start it? I might not try and start it. There might not be any fuel in it. If it starts, that's great. If it doesn't, it's because the fuel bowl is empty. We'll see. If not, I'll pull it back, because I just need to get the jack out, lift the back up so we can get the tank out. But yeah, let's crack on with that. That was me just giving it 2 or 3 pumps of the accelerator to put some fuel down there. I've got the manual choke fitted now. Yeah, so the carburettor is not tuned at all. But oh, we need to do that belt as well. That belt's loose. But I am definitely going to stick with this Weber carburettor. I think it is, of the 2 carburettors, in a better state. Okay, what would be nice to find at this end, if it was available, if it's around here, would be a wire that was laid in for the injection version of this car, because the 3-litre injection would have had the fuel pump at this end, and that would save me running a wire if it is already in place. But hey ho, it does look, it frighteningly looks to be 2 hoses, 2 wires and 4 bolts. The bolts look like they're 17 mils. Let me just go and get some tools. Whoa, okay, we still got fuel in there. Right, there's method in my madness of leaving one rubber pipe on the tank and one rubber pipe on the car, because that way I know which way round they were connected, because it took me ages to work out which was the flow and which was the return. And that's not an ages I want to revisit. Oh, not the same, not nice and loose. Ooh. Don't drop sockets on your head, kids. Longer bar needed on that one. Obviously not using the torque wrench for its torque wrenching capabilities here. Oh, that one's already undone. I'm not trying to do that one. Just using it for its long handle capabilities. That'll be getting some copper slip on it when it goes back. Wow, that's been bodged up. Yeah, that's been stupendously bodged up. So we've got a breather line here that's just not connected at all, it's just open. Spare. Yeah, all these breather lines need replacing. That breather line's got a bolt in it, and I think that should be connected to that. And this breather line here should be connected over there, and it isn't. So yeah, pulling this was not a bad idea. It needed doing. Yeah, because this breather line here is just like that. Yeah, not great. Okay, let's get the rest of the fuel out of it, and yeah, I thought they came out like that. I remember that from my old one. Seen better days. Needs to be cleaned. Okay. But there's something lumpy and heavy in there. I wish I'd picked up the camera this morning. Nah, this is what I use for work. It's a camera that goes on a pole, and I can record that one so you can see with me. Let me just change your battery, because your battery's going to fail any second, because this bit's interesting, so the battery will fail. This ferret cam has got me out of trouble when I'm trying to pull wires under a floor on more than one occasion, because what you do is your Wi-Fi to it, and then on my phone I can see what's going on, but also I can video what's going on, so you'll be able to see this. What is that? I mean, is that a pipe? But what's the heavy stuff? I mean, this tank should be as light as a feather. There's something heavy sliding around in there. I mean, there's all my rust, but okay. Okay, that stopped the noise, that's it. Do you know what's happened? Let's see what we get out of this. Of course, when full, it's quite heavy. It is absolutely horrible in there. Because obviously the challenge now is to get it to completely fill to the brim and stay there. Sort of plugging various breathers and things so that it'll fill without leaking. Right, let's see if we can use the, oh wow, gunge that's coming out of that. It's still in there, still loose stuff in there. Right, that's half a bucket, so that is 5 kilos. Kilo to 10 litres, you know, that should be enough for that tank. And we leave it for a couple of days. Okay, so the tank is back at home for its citric acid bath, which will take a couple of days. It does look really rough inside that tank, so we'll see what it comes out with. Actually, you know, absolutely every surface has got a rust coating over it. Incidentally, I sent a picture of what I found in the tank to Derek, and he instantly recognised something. The strange sort of contraption that, you know, the mesh bag with the what looked like weights inside it, apparently was a scam from the time of unleaded petrol coming in. Basically, it's a bag of lead pellets, and you put it in your tank, and then it fixes the unleaded petrol. Of course, it bloody doesn't. That would have meant the lead pellets should have dissolved. Frankly, the tank is dissolving into rust. The only thing that's not dissolving in that damn tank is the lead pellets in the bag, and they've probably been in there 30 years. It's an utter scam. Incidentally, if YouTube puts adverts in this video, and those adverts, I have no control over any adverts they place. If they place adverts, and those adverts promise to either heat your house for twopence halfpenny or cool your house for twopence halfpenny, they are a con. Absolute con. The idea that you can get a small gadget that will have the cooling power of a massive air conditioning system, and it will plug into a single socket and run for twopence halfpenny, and nobody wants you to know about it because it's a secret. Of course it's a con. God's sake. I don't know why YouTube actually allow them. But there's obviously no sort of advertising standards are out like that. Anyway, enough whinging. This is that thermostat housing. It's absolutely pristine, beautiful. It's been manufactured for Opel Mantas. I don't know if it fits. It kind of looks like it might. The only way we're going to find out is take the old one off and have a look. Okay, so my hoping is that these match. Which they look like they do. Because the guy who made this is a company in Germany has made those, and they say that's for an Opel Manta, that's for a 4-cylinder, not for this car. They don't, and it's not because it doesn't fit, it's because they don't even know it fits. They deal with Opel Mantas, they don't deal with these 6-cylinders. And this is the kind of world we're in with this car. It's about kind of, just because the manufacturer doesn't say it doesn't fit, doesn't mean it doesn't fit. Bit like that kick down cable. You know, completely not for this car, not long enough, but it works at the gearbox end. And when there's no other option, that's half the battle. Should have undone these before I took it off the engine. I suppose it's a bit like if you got a Lotus, you know, you're never going to get the Lotus switches, but if you know that actually they used the ones out the Ford parts bin, therefore buy one for a whatever it was and it will fit, you know. Maybe that's the same sort of thing. See, the only difference we've got, they're the same. The only difference we've got is there's no spigot. Because that's not a spigot hole, that's a bolt hole. And that's fine, because that's the spigot we don't need now. Mating face is clean. So if it fits, which it does, and they supply a gasket and the bolts, because it's got a slightly different design, so it uses rather than having a short bolt at this end, it uses a bigger housing, so the bolt goes right the way through there. And that's obviously been designed because this is where it fails, where it's so thin. Yeah, look at that. If we put the gasket on the old one, it's an exact match. Oh, this is useful information for the other owners of these engines. This is very useful information for them. I'll tell everybody tonight on the owners meet up. When it weren't cheap, but if it works, because by the time I paid for it and the shipping, it's the nowadays, thanks to Brexit, the thing that costs is the shipping. So if it's coming from Germany, it's like some of those bits I needed from Edelsheim. I had to make sure that I'd actually thought of everything at the right point in time, because, you know, it was a case of sometimes the shipping being more than the part that I wanted. This company must have had these cast specially. What was the torque setting? Does not say. Therefore, we shall tighten it to click that. Click. that was the new temperature sensor. Didn't come with it. That was the temperature sensor that I just bought on eBay. Very easy to get. Used in billions of Vauxhalls and Opals. So absolutely not a problem to get at all. Very standard part. Everything from a Royale to a Nova. All the same part, all the same resistance, all the same job, all the same sameness. Absolutely no problem at all. Okay, we can tell which way the thermostat goes up. No, we can't. Yes, we can, because it fits in there and it fits in there. Ow! Thanks, Roy. I buy you a new thermostat and you hit me in the head. So, we had to turn these idle screws quite a long way out. Half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So 3 turns out. The accepted wisdom is that if you are out more than about 1.5 to 2 turns, your jets are too small. So what we're going to do is set it back up, add up the jets and set it back up again at factory or at, you know, baseline settings, and then tune it the same way we did last time, which is with the vacuum gauge, because that worked. So we got a tune out of this, but it was with those screws so high, which means a combination of those, which are the main jets, and also the idle jets are too small. Now these main jets, I went back and looked at the video where I took it apart and I put them under the microscope. These are 145s and I got 150s for it. So that's upper size. So that should give more fuel. And then what we do is we're similarly going to take the idle jets up one and then put it back to baseline, tune it again and see what it looks like then. And if we're within that sort of magic 2 turns, then we know we're about right. You have to do your main jets because apparently the main jets, and it makes sense because the only way out of this float chamber is via the main jets. So the main jets do actually affect the idle jets, which is odd, but logical. I've also got a set of air corrector jets because what they do is they mess with things higher up the rev range. So we'll start with getting this bit right, and then we'll worry about things like air correctors a different time. Idle jets you can do without taking the carb apart because they're in the side, and these are, or are they 55s? No, they're 50s. So we've gone up to 60s. And we've got 3 different sets of air corrector jets to play with at another time. Now, shall we do the float height? Probably. Let's see what it should be. I've been calling this carb a D-gas and it's not. DGAS. It's actually a DGMS because DGAS means the one with the automatic choke. This has got the manual choke. Otherwise it makes square root of no difference at all. 38.5 to 46.5. This is so much easier to set than that Solex, because the Solex is done on fuel level, so you have to be pumping fuel into it, whereas this is done on float height. Much happier, much easier to do. What you do, that's the float hanging open, that's the float shut there, but not compressing the ball. So that's the shut position, and that's what you measure. It's from the case. Ah, you see, that's on 37. So that's wrong. It should be on 38.5, which is right there. So it's a tiny touch. Oh, that's fine. Right. That should have it. That kind of makes sense because I was getting a situation where it was flooding occasionally and it was coming out the top. I do not believe it. That bloody thread stripped. It's not as if I'm leaning on them very hard. How has that happened? Wunderbar. Okay. Over to the workshop we go. To the pillar drill and the helicoil set. Do you know what, Roy? You're a pile of shit sometimes. Yeah, completely stripped out. You can see it. Okay, so it has kind of occurred to me that I've done a few thread repair jobs, but I haven't actually shown one yet. Mainly because when I'm doing them, I'm trying to fail in silence. So, helicoil set. I measured the thread that we're dealing with on the carburettor, and it's M8 by 0.08. So what we need to do is drill it out, and we've got a kind of ideal situation here of being able to drill nice and square. So the set comes with helicoils, which are these little coils that go in and make a new thread, a drill and a tap, and these taps are just for helicoils, they're not for other stuff, because what they do is they create a slightly oversized thread in there, and then you put the helicoil in and that reduces it back to the correct thread. And they come with the right drill. So we mount that. And we want to just be able to touch off on it. We want to be nice and square though. What's holding that? So we've got a couple of things that are going to lift it up. So if we've got it on the flat base like that, we know we're drilling square because we're nice and flat. So so we can lift the table up a touch. Make sure we're going to be drilling square. That's that. And we only want to go through a little bit. So this drill has got depth adjustment, which is useful. So if we now set that won't go any deeper than just touching off the top. I can then look at how far down I want to go, because I can't risk going too far. Because if I go too far, I'm going to hit that casing below. So actually I just want to go about that far. That's all I want to go through. So now I can take that, distance, I can add it to my, so now I know I can't drill too far. We've got two things there that are holding it up. That's the thread that's stripped. That one's good. So I've got it nice and flat on the table. I know I'm going to be, if I go down there, I'm going to be absolutely perpendicular. So, right angles. I'm going to be absolutely right angles. Should get around to putting a plug in over this side for it. So just check it again that we're going to be doing the right thing. Nice and slow. I've hit my depth, stop. Which means I'm done. So now what I need to do is thread it. And I can actually use the drill, in this case, to run the thread, because it will be square. Again, it's the best way of getting an absolutely square thread. This tap's a bit shorter, we'll lift the table up a touch. It's going a bit fast for my liking. You know what I think we'll do? I think we'll wind it manually. We've got all the benefit of the squareness, but without the motor, so we can wind it like that. So we can, it's nice and soft, so we can just turn the drill manually. Just let it feed itself in. Because it's only soft metal. do just need to go, I think, a touch more down that, but not much more. So now, so we can go down there. We've got a nice larger size thread in that hole, so it's too big for our screw. So our M5.08 screw just sort of drops straight through there. But then we take the correct size helicoil, and there's a little application tool, and we fit it by winding it in, and we wind it in until we're just below the surface like that. And then the little tab that we use to wind it in is breakable, so there's a little punch that you use just to break it off. There we go, that's broken the little tab off. There's the little tab there that we use to wind it in, and that thread is now completely in there, completely solid, completely repaired. Okay, we'll go for a brief drive around the block because we're only on a can under the bonnet. I'll take starting like that. Whoa, that's got power. Oh, that's lovely. That's accelerating, changing. That means the power that the gearbox is expecting is there. That is rather good. That was a brilliant test drive. It was short, but it was brilliant. Those jets have really helped. I really want to see now what the colour of the spark plugs is after a bit of a run. So for once, the destination is clear. It's get that tank clean and de-rusted and back on the car, some fresh fuel in it, and we go for a run. We've got a side project that needs doing. As you probably saw, one of the things I've done is put the steering wheel back in its proper position, and because the track rods are bent, even though the tracking at the moment is right, it's not centered, and also as I say, the track rods are bent. Now when Derek sent me the engine, he also put in the box of spares, he put a couple of those track rod adjusters in there for me, so they need to be put on, and then the tracking needs to be precisely set up with those unbent track rod ends, but it's good enough at the moment to go for a test drive. So yeah, it's get that tank clean, get it back in, and let's see what it's like on a run, and let's start bedding those piston rings in. But as far as that carburettor feels, that's brilliant. That feels much better than anything else we've had thus far. We've still got a bit of exhaust knock, which I need to try and work out where that's coming from, but you know, can't have everything. All in all, it's looking good. It's looking good. Today, I think we got a little bit closer to rescuing Roy. Yeah, I'm really pleased. So please like, please subscribe, please share. You know, get this around anybody you think might like it. We're in the position, we're in the bit at the moment of a YouTube channel where it's very difficult to break out. You know, there's lots of videos, there's lots of regular content, and all of you that watch it are watching it really regularly and interacting brilliantly, and it's so good to read your comments and talk to you, and it's great. But the algorithm isn't yet seeing that we're here, and we're in that bit where you need to give it a bit of a shove to see the algorithm start putting it out to people who actually might want to watch it. I don't want to be a YouTube star. I don't want to earn my living out of doing this. I don't want to be a full-time YouTuber with constant plugging and shilling of products. That sort of thing fills me with horror. But I know there are people out there who are either working on cars of this ilk, or they're working on projects like this, or they're working on this engine, this type of engine, or they're working on the Opel Manta version of this engine, and the stuff that we're discovering would be really useful to them. And we just need to get to a stage where the YouTube algorithm finds those people for us and starts to show. Anyway, I'm waffling. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. The next one is likely to be tank-based shenanigans. I'll see you then.